She looked me dead in the eye and told me I wasn't welcome on the yacht this year, like I was some outsider begging for a seat. She had no clue the very vessel she was flaunting belonged to me. The moment the crew greeted me with, "Welcome aboard, owner," her smirk vanished. She thought she had control, until she realized she was standing on my deck, sipping my champagne. That's when everything flipped, and her fake world came crashing down in the middle of the ocean. You ever been pushed aside like you don't matter? Like you're just someone's wife with no value of your own? Yeah, that was me. My husband's sister straight up banned me from the family yacht trip, acting like she was the queen of the ocean. But what she didn't know was, I owned the damn yacht. The moment the crew greeted me as the owner, her entire attitude sank faster than her pride. And listen, if you've ever been underestimated, I want you to drop a in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this, you need to hear more. You ever get that gut feeling that someone in your own family doesn't just dislike you, they actually resent your existence? That's the vibe I've always gotten from Lauren, my husband's sister. From the day I married into their family, she's treated me like I was some outsider crashing their perfect little world. Not a welcome to the family hug, not even fake kindness. Just constant eye rolls, snide remarks, and side conversations where I was very clearly not meant to hear. And I ignored it for years. I took the high road. I smiled at family dinners. I brought gifts on holidays. I even let her dominate conversations like she was the queen of everyone's time. But the moment she tried to erase me from my own life, that's when I knew. Lauren needed a reality check, one she would never forget. Let me take you back to the week before the trip. I was sitting in our living room, sipping coffee, planning the crew schedule for the yacht. Yes, planning, not requesting, not hoping. Planning, because that yacht, it's mine. Purchased under my company's name with money I earned. A reward for 10 years of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights building my real estate business from the ground up. And then the message came. Not a phone call, not even a voice note. Just a cold, clinical text from Lauren. We've decided to keep this year's yacht trip family only. Hope you understand. No sorry. No explanation. Just a slap in digital form. Now pause, because I want to talk to you, the one watching this. Have you ever been cut out of something you deserved to be part of? Something you paid for emotionally, physically, or financially, and then someone just decided you didn't matter anymore? If yes, keep listening. This story? It's for you. Anyway, back to Lauren's text. I stared at it for a second. My thumb hovered over the reply button. I wanted to type, "Excuse me?" or "Did you forget who owns the yacht?" But instead, I smiled, because in that moment I realized this wasn't something to get mad about. This was something to play out, publicly, gracefully, and with the kind of class that only hits harder when it's backed by power. So I didn't reply. I didn't argue. I simply called Captain Ruiz. He's been with me since the beginning. Loyal, smart, discreet. "Hey, Captain," I said. "You have the guest list for next week's trip, right?" "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Your in-laws finalized it with me yesterday." "Good. Don't change anything. Just don't tell them I'll be joining." He paused and then chuckled. "Understood, Mrs. Bennett. This is going to be interesting." I laughed. "You have no idea." For the next few days, I went about my business like nothing was wrong. My husband was caught in the middle. He knew Lauren could be difficult, but I asked him not to interfere. "Let her have her moment," I said. "Let's see how long it lasts." But here's the thing. I wasn't being petty. I was making a point. Because people like Lauren, they don't understand boundaries until they run face first into them. So now let me ask you, how many times have you kept quiet just to keep the peace? How many times have you let someone get away with disrespect just to avoid drama? If that's you, maybe it's time you stop apologizing for taking up space. The night before the trip, I packed one small bag. No overthinking. Just a sleek white sundress, sunglasses, a few essentials, and my favorite perfume, the one that says, "I'm here and I'm not going anywhere." When I arrived at the private marina, the staff was already lined up. Lauren was already on board, laughing with her friends and tossing her hair like she owned the breeze. And when she saw me, oh, that moment. Priceless. Her smile faltered. Her voice got high and tight. What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, Captain Ruiz stepped forward. Mrs. Bennett, welcome aboard. The crew is ready for you. Owner's suite is prepared just as you requested. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. Owner's suite. Lauren froze. Everyone froze. The laughter died. I turned to her slowly. Oh, didn't anyone tell you? This yacht belongs to me. She blinked like she was trying to process a glitch in the Matrix. You're joking. Nope, I said, stepping past her. But go ahead, make yourself comfortable. Just remember whose name is on the title. That was the first punch. The moment that shifted the entire tone of the trip. But believe me, it wouldn't be the last. And if you're watching this right now thinking, wow, I wish I could do that, I'm telling you, you can. Whether it's a yacht, a business, or simply standing your ground in your own home, you have more power than you think. You just have to own it. So before I go into the next chapter, here's what I want from you. Drop a comment below if you've ever had someone try to box you out and you came back stronger. I want to hear your story. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because what happened next? Lauren wasn't ready. And honestly, neither was anyone else. Let's just say the ocean wasn't the only thing that got rocked that week. You ever had a moment where your silence was so powerful, it echoed louder than a scream? That's exactly what I was planning for. After that cold text from Lauren, instead of reacting emotionally like she probably expected, I smiled. Not out of peace, but out of strategy. Because let me tell you something. When you own something powerful, whether it's a business, your time, or your life, the best clapback isn't loud. It's quiet. It's calculated. It's walking into the room they tried to lock you out of and sitting at the head of the table like you built it. And in this case, I literally built the boat they were vacationing on. Lauren had no clue what was coming. The yacht trip was scheduled for the weekend, and in the group chat, yep, I was still in there, by the way, everyone was buzzing. Outfit plans, playlists, food preferences. Lauren was organizing everything like she was the boss. You know the type, self-appointed queen of the family, the one who acts like every event revolves around her. But what she didn't realize was her throne was standing on my deck. So while she was sending spreadsheets and themed dress codes, I was calling the captain. Let her play cruise director, I told him. Just make sure the owner's suite is locked until I get there. I want it untouched. Of course, Mrs. Bennett, he replied. Anything else? Yeah, I said. No one is to know I'm joining until the very moment I step on that deck. I want them to feel it. Now let me talk to you real quick. Have you ever been underestimated so hard that people forgot what you're actually capable of? Like they get so used to ignoring you, they don't even realize the power you hold? Because that's what this whole trip was about. Not revenge. Reminder. The day before the trip, I took a walk through the marina just to feel it. The sea air, the scent of salt, the polished wood of the dock under my heels. It was all mine. I built this. I paid for this. And yet somehow, someone else had tried to decide if I was worthy of being there. You know what hits different? Being told you're not invited to your own yacht and not saying a word. Just showing up with receipts. So I got my outfit ready. Clean, elegant, effortless. I wasn't going for flashy, I was going for timeless power. Think less, look at me, and more. You'll never forget me. Meanwhile, my husband was treading carefully. He knew what Lauren did was wrong, but he also didn't want to stir the pot before the trip. I respected that, but I told him, let her cook. This is going to be fun to watch. And he just smiled and said, just don't make her cry on day one. No promises. The morning of the trip arrived. I waited until everyone else had boarded. I watched from a private distance as they posed for photos on the dock, loaded designer luggage, and took their best fake candid yacht shots for Instagram. Lauren, of course, was center stage, posing like she owned the world. Then I made my move. I walked toward the yacht slowly, heels clicking, wind in my hair, bag in hand. The crew noticed me first. Captain Ruiz stepped forward and gave a subtle nod. The steward opened the security gate, and that's when Lauren turned around and saw me. Her face froze. No smile, just confusion. Then panic. You're not supposed to be here, she said, her voice rising. I didn't even answer. Captain Ruiz stepped in. Good morning, Mrs. Bennett. Welcome aboard. The crew is ready for you. Owner's suite has been prepared per your instructions. The way everyone turned to look at her after that, instant classic. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. like she was trying to figure out if this was a prank. I stepped onto the yacht. Calm, controlled, powerful. "Oh," I said, turning to her as if I had just remembered something. "I thought you said this trip was family only? I suppose that makes me the only one who really belongs here." She didn't have a response, just a quiet, burning stare and a forced smile that looked more like a grimace. Now let me pause right here, because I want to talk to you watching this. If you've ever had someone try to cut you out of something that you built, that you earned, I want you to comment right now. They forgot who I was. Because honestly, that's what this story is about. Not revenge, but recognition. Sometimes people get so used to downplaying you, they don't even realize you were the foundation all along. Back on the yacht, the energy had shifted. The party mood turned awkward. People didn't know whether to side with Lauren or act like nothing happened. But me? I was chilling. I had already unpacked. The owner's suite had a chilled bottle of champagne waiting. Everything was perfect. Lauren tried to save face. She started talking louder, making jokes, pretending like she forgot I was coming. "Oh my God, Natalie, no one told me. I didn't think you could make it." I just smiled and said, "Well, I own it, so I kind of go where it goes." It was the most polite checkmate I've ever delivered. Later that day, the crew came to me for final approval on the itinerary Lauren had made. "Ma'am, would you like to keep these plans or adjust them to your preferences?" I laughed. "Let her keep her little schedule. It'll make her feel important." But I did make one change. Sunset dinner on the upper deck. Private. Invite only. And Lauren, not on the list. She didn't know it yet, but this trip was going to be her wake-up call. Because when people build fake kingdoms on your property, it's only a matter of time before the eviction notice gets delivered. So if you're still watching and you're loving this story, don't just sit there. Subscribe right now. We're only on day 1 of this trip, and if you thought this moment was sweet, wait till you see what happens when she tries to act like the boss in front of my crew. This yacht, this story, this moment, I own all of it. And I'm just getting started. Have you ever seen someone try to take command of a room they don't even own? Like they're walking around giving orders, acting like the boss, completely unaware that the real power is standing silently in the corner, watching everything? That was Lauren on the yacht. She strutted around like she was royalty, giving the crew attitude, telling the caterer how to plate the food, even trying to rearrange the sleeping arrangements. She was on a stage, performing, convinced that everyone was clapping. But what she didn't know was the spotlight had already shifted, and she was seconds away from being exposed. I watched it all unfold from the upper deck, legs crossed, sunglasses on, iced coffee in hand. No need to interfere. I wasn't there to argue or start drama. I was there to let her bury herself. Quiet power is the kind that scares people the most, and I know some of you watching this understand exactly what I mean. You don't need to scream to own the space. Sometimes silence is the flex. Let me break it down. After I boarded and Captain Ruiz announced me as the owner, Lauren was shook, but she tried to play it cool. The fake smile, the loud laugh, the immediate switch to, "Oh my God, Natalie, no one told me you'd be here. How fun!" You know those people who smile with their mouths but not their eyes? That was her. The tension in her jaw gave her away. The tremble in her voice when she tried to act like this was all just a surprise. It was delicious. She turned to the crew right after and said, "Let's get going. We're behind schedule. I want to be at the sandbar by noon." Captain Ruiz didn't even flinch. "We'll wait for Mrs. Bennett's final confirmation." Her head snapped around so fast I thought she might get whiplash. "Oh, right," she said, looking at me. "Natalie, are you ready to go?" I smiled and sipped my coffee. "Absolutely. Let's begin." And just like that, she had to fall back, in front of everyone. Now I'm going to ask you, the one watching this right now, have you ever had someone try to run the show on your stage? Someone who treated you like an accessory until the moment they realized you were the main event? If that's ever happened to you, type yes in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because these stories aren't just entertaining, they're real. And if you've lived even a piece of this, you know how satisfying it is when the truth finally takes the mic. Anyway, back to the yacht. As we set sail, I could feel the shift. The crew kept checking in with me for every decision. The chef ran the meal plan by me. The stewardess asked what time I wanted the deck cleared for dinner. Lauren kept trying to jump in. Actually, I think we should do the seafood night first. I looked at the chef and said, let's keep the plan as is. Lobster on the second night. Yes, ma'am, the chef nodded. Lauren laughed nervously. Oh, wow. Okay. You're really stepping into this role, huh? I leaned in just slightly and said, I'm not stepping into it. I own it. Boom. She had no comeback. Just another forced smile and a gulp from her mimosa. Later that afternoon, she pulled my husband aside. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but when you're on a yacht, private conversations echo. I just don't get why she's doing this, she said. It's weird, right? Like she's trying to embarrass me. My husband calmly replied, Lauren, she's not doing anything. You disinvited her from a trip on her own yacht. Maybe just chill. Silence. That kind of silence where you know the truth just slaps someone across the face. We dropped anchor near a gorgeous stretch of private beach. The kind of place you see in travel magazines. Clear blue water, soft white sand. Everyone wanted to head down for drinks and paddleboarding. Lauren, still clinging to whatever authority she thought she had, turned to the crew and said, Can someone bring the paddleboards down? I want them ready in 5 minutes. The deckhand nodded, but then looked at me. I tilted my head, just slightly. No rush. Let's give everyone 20 minutes to relax before we head down. Understood, Mrs. Bennett. Lauren actually laughed out loud. Are you serious right now? I looked her dead in the eye. Do you want to paddleboard or argue? Because I own this moment either way. And that's when she started to unravel. She disappeared below deck for almost an hour. I know because everyone noticed. Her friends asked where she went. The energy shifted from festive to uncomfortable. But again, I didn't say a word. I let the ocean rock the boat, not my emotions. And when she came back up, red eyes, fake smile, quiet voice. I think I'm just a little seasick, she said. No one responded. Now listen, I'm not trying to be cruel, but sometimes people like Lauren need to sit in the silence they created. She tried to erase me. She tried to steal the spotlight. And when she couldn't, she broke. To everyone watching this, I want you to remember something. You don't have to fight for a seat at a table you built. You don't have to explain your worth to someone who never respected it. Your power isn't in how loud you speak. It's in how confidently you exist when they try to erase you. So tell me in the comments, have you ever had someone pull a Lauren on you? Tried to take control of something that was never theirs to begin with? Let's share stories. Let's connect. Because you're not alone. And this channel? It's a community for real ones who know what it means to stand tall when others try to shrink you. And if you're still here, you already know what I'm going to say. Like this video. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because this yacht story, it's just getting good. Wait till you hear what happened at dinner. Spoiler alert, Lauren thought she could still act like a queen. But I had one more checkmate up my sleeve. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Have you ever seen someone slowly realize they're not in control anymore? That moment when it hits them. They're not the star, not the leader, not even relevant in the room. That's exactly what started happening to Lauren by the time we reached day 2 of the yacht trip. She had spent the entire first day stumbling through fake smiles and shallow conversations, hoping no one noticed her ego slowly deflating. But by morning, the truth was impossible to ignore. She was no longer running the show. And the worst part? The person she tried to erase was the one everyone was now watching. That morning, I woke up early and had breakfast on the upper deck. Just me, my coffee, the sound of waves, and a soft breeze that felt like freedom. The stewardess brought me a fresh croissant, and we talked like old friends. Because unlike Lauren, I treated the staff like human beings, not props for my social media posts. That connection mattered. That respect? It always circles back. Meanwhile, Lauren didn't show up until nearly 10 a.m., wearing oversized sunglasses and a thin smile. She walked onto the deck like she still had something to prove, like yesterday's humiliation hadn't happened. But the crew's energy had shifted. People weren't jumping to respond to her anymore. They looked at me for direction. She noticed it too. And you know what the funny part is? She started copying me. Every little thing I did, where I sat, what I wore, how I spoke, She tried to mimic it, like it would somehow reattach her crown. I took meetings on the yacht with my assistant via satellite phone, and suddenly she was on her phone too, pretending to be busy. I asked the chef to prepare a light lunch of grilled salmon and greens, and next thing you know, she was skipping the pasta and ordering the exact same thing. Like we were playing a game of who's more elegant, but the difference was, mine was real. Let me ask you, have you ever had someone try to imitate your success because they couldn't create their own? Someone who mocked you when they thought you were nothing, then tried to become you when they realized they couldn't beat you? If that's ever happened, tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story. And make sure you're subscribed, because I promise this story isn't just entertaining. It's validation for anyone who's ever been overlooked and came back stronger. Back to the yacht. Around noon, we anchored near a stunning coral reef, and some of the group wanted to go snorkeling. Lauren, of course, tried to take charge again. She clapped her hands and said, "Let's make sure the gear is ready. I want the underwater GoPro." Like she was still in charge of something. One of the deckhands glanced at me. I nodded. He turned to Lauren and said, "Mrs. Bennett already approved the equipment setup. It's all taken care of." The silence that followed was sharp. She blinked, forced a laugh. "Oh, that's great. Natalie's really hands-on this year." I looked at her. Well, when you own something, it makes sense to be involved. No shouting, no drama, just that sentence. And it sliced cleaner than anything loud ever could. Here's the thing. Lauren wasn't used to being challenged without confrontation. She thrived on conflict. She knew how to fight when people yelled back. But I wasn't yelling. I was calm, confident. I wasn't trying to beat her. I had already won, and that made it worse for her. Much worse. Later that evening came the dinner. The one I had asked the chef to prepare privately on the upper deck. Only a few people invited. My husband, of course. A couple of close friends. And Lauren, not on the list. Now, before you think I was being cruel, let me be clear. This wasn't about exclusion for the sake of revenge. This was about boundaries, about showing her that actions have consequences. You don't get to erase people and still expect a seat at the table, not when you tried to shut the door on them. The crew set up a gorgeous candlelit dinner under the stars. Soft jazz playing in the background, waves lapping gently against the side of the yacht, and the scent of roasted sea bass with lemon butter wafting through the air. It was perfection. Meanwhile, Lauren was below deck, wondering what was going on, because no one had told her. Halfway through dinner, she came up, dressed in a full gown like she expected a red carpet. When she saw us seated, plates full, glasses clinking, her eyes widened. "Oh, I didn't realize there was a formal dinner tonight." I looked at her, not unkindly, and said, "It was a private gathering, small. Intimate, pre-planned." She hesitated. "So I wasn't invited?" I sipped my wine. "No, Lauren, you weren't." And that was it. Her smile cracked. The crew kept working like nothing happened. The music played on, and for the first time, she had nothing to say. Let me talk to you again for a second, because this part is important. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's saying, I see what you did. I'm not pretending it didn't happen, and I'm not rewarding it with access to my peace. We've all let too many people slide because we're afraid of being mean. But silence isn't peace if you're suffering to maintain it. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is say, "No, not this time." That night, after dinner, Lauren stayed in her cabin. No more performance, no more bossy energy, just quiet. My husband came over and kissed me on the forehead. "You handled that with grace," he said. "I didn't handle her," I replied. "I just handled me." And to those of you still watching, I want to say this. Thank you. Thank you for being here, for supporting stories that matter, for being the kind of person who values quiet strength over loud chaos. Make sure you're subscribed, because the final days of this yacht trip, they brought a twist that even I didn't see coming. And I promise, it's going to stay with you long after the video ends. So tell me in the comments, what's your yacht moment? What's something you took back, quietly, powerfully, after someone tried to take it from you? I want to celebrate that with you, because here's the truth. When you move with grace and power, the world doesn't just notice. It remembers. Have you ever been so calm in your power that someone else's chaos just looked like background noise? That was me by day 3 of the yacht trip. Lauren had finally run out of fake smiles and passive-aggressive one-liners. The shine had worn off. The crew no longer humored her. Her followers weren't engaging with her daily Instagram yacht updates anymore. The family, once following her lead, was now quietly shifting toward me, seeking my opinion, laughing at my jokes, waiting for my cues. And Lauren? She was watching it all unravel like sand slipping through her fingers. Let me paint the picture. Morning sun glistening over the water, the sound of gentle waves against the hull, and the crew quietly preparing the deck for a mid-morning brunch. Everyone was in good spirits. Laughter, clinking glasses, the smell of fresh croissants. I walked out in a soft linen dress, barefoot, hair tied up in a loose bun. Effortless. And that's when Lauren came up, dressed like she was heading to a gala, again. It was almost sad now. She was still trying to impress, still fighting for attention in a room that had already moved on. She walked over and said, "Morning, Natalie. I was thinking maybe we could do a sunset photo shoot on the front deck tonight, like a themed shoot. Wouldn't that be fun?" I looked up from my coffee and said, "If that's what you'd like, go for it. Just check with the crew and make sure it doesn't interfere with the owner's dinner plans." Her lips twitched. She nodded. "Right. Your plans." The tension wasn't sharp anymore. It was dull, tired, and heavy. She had tried to run the show, then copy me, then exclude me, and none of it worked. Now she was stuck on a yacht that didn't belong to her, surrounded by people who weren't buying the act anymore. Let me talk to you, because I know some of you watching this have been there. That moment when the person who tried to tear you down suddenly wants to work with you, stand beside you, borrow your light, after doing everything they could to dim it. If that's ever happened to you, I want you to write in the comments, "You needed me when you thought you didn't." And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because these are the kinds of stories we need to hear. Stories of silent power, earned respect, and truth rising without screaming. So the day went on. After brunch, the crew prepared the jet skis. I stayed back, chatting with the captain, going over the next day's weather and docking plans. Real yacht owner stuff. Lauren, however, went with the group to the water. I watched her from the upper deck. She was trying to lead the fun again, shouting over the waves, posing for the GoPro, laughing a little too hard. But no one was matching her energy. The vibe had shifted, and she wasn't reading the room. Because you can't force charisma. You can't fake presence. And when your confidence isn't rooted in truth, it starts to look like desperation. By the time everyone returned, there was a strange quiet in the air. People started peeling off into their rooms. And Lauren? She looked exhausted. Not physically, but emotionally. That kind of tired you feel when pretending becomes too heavy. Later that evening, I hosted another private dinner. But this time, I did something unexpected. I invited her. You might be thinking, why? Why give her that moment after everything she did? Because power isn't about keeping people out. Sometimes it's about letting them in, on your terms. And I wanted her to feel what it's like to sit at a table you once tried to lock someone out of. She showed up on time. Hair perfect, dress sharp, eyes cautious. As she sat down, she looked at me and said, "Thank you for inviting me tonight." I nodded. "You're welcome. This isn't about the past anymore. Let's just enjoy the evening." She gave a quiet smile, probably the most genuine one I'd seen from her in years. The dinner was beautiful. Music, candles, meaningful conversation. No tension, no fakeness. For once, it felt real. Then, halfway through the meal, she said something that stunned everyone. "I just want to say, I've been kind of difficult this trip. I know I've acted like it's mine to control, and it wasn't fair to Natalie. She didn't deserve that." The table went silent. She continued, "I think I resented her success because it made me feel small, and that's not her fault. That's on me." I watched her speak, calm and measured. No tears, no drama, just truth. Now pause, because I need to say this to you watching. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are also hurting. It doesn't excuse their behavior, but it explains the fear behind it. And when we stop matching their energy and start standing in our own peace, they have no choice but to confront themselves. I didn't make a speech. I didn't gloat. I just said, "Thank you for saying that." And that was enough. That night, the stars were brighter than I'd seen all week. The air felt lighter, and for the first time, Lauren wasn't pretending. She was quiet, reflective, and real. And maybe that's the biggest victory of all. Not just proving someone wrong, but showing them who you really are without saying a word. To all of you still watching, I want you to remember this. Owning your story doesn't mean controlling every moment. It means showing up with integrity, with patience, and with unwavering self-worth. The right people will see it. And the wrong ones? Eventually, they'll be forced to. So tell me in the comments, what's your moment like this? When did someone try to dim your light and you stood tall anyway? I want this space to be more than just storytelling. I want it to be community. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because this was chapter 5. And trust me, the final moments of this yacht trip are coming. And when they do, they'll remind you why you never have to shrink for someone else's comfort. Stay with me. We're about to drop anchor on the most powerful chapter yet. You ever see someone start a fight they thought they'd win, only to realize halfway through they were in the wrong ring with the wrong opponent and no way out? That was Lauren by the start of day 4. She had apologized, yes. She had even been quiet for a while. But people like her, silence isn't surrender, it's a setup. And deep down, I knew it. She wasn't done trying to save face. She just needed a new strategy, one that didn't rely on control or confrontation, but attention. And where did she run for it? The only place she ever felt powerful, social media. Now let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone treat you like nothing in private, but then suddenly act sweet and supportive online where the world can see? Like the two-faced version of themselves only shows up with a ring light and an audience? If you've seen that side of someone, tell me in the comments, because what happened next wasn't just fake, it was desperate. That morning, while most of the guests were sipping on pineapple smoothies and watching dolphins crest near the yacht, Lauren was staging a full-blown photo shoot. Hair curled, makeup layered, designer swimsuit, and 2 of her friends were snapping iPhone pictures like it was the cover of a travel magazine. She posted a carousel to Instagram with the caption, "Nothing like family bonding on the open sea. So grateful for these memories and the people who made it magical." First of all, she hadn't spoken to half the people on the yacht since day 1. Second, grateful wasn't exactly the word that came to mind when you disinvite someone from their own yacht. But hey, fake it till you make it, right? The post went live. The likes started rolling in. And then it happened. One of the guests, bless her heart, commented, "So happy to be here with our amazing host Natalie. This trip has been unforgettable." Under Lauren's post, you know that pause people get when their world tilts just a little? Like when the camera's still on, but the smile fades? That was Lauren's face when she read that comment. You could practically feel her rage trying to stay beneath her skin. But you know what she did? She doubled down. An hour later, she posted again. This time, a video. Just her talking to the camera on the deck, sun behind her. "Hey everyone, just wanted to say thank you for the love on my recent post. This trip means the world to me. Family is everything, and I'm just lucky to be part of this amazing experience." I watched it from the corner of the deck, sipping my iced tea, not saying a word. Because people like Lauren don't need confrontation to be exposed. They just need a little space and a Wi-Fi signal. The truth finds its way out eventually. Now, if you're still watching this and thinking, "I've seen this before," I want you to subscribe right now, because this isn't just my story. This is for everyone who's ever been manipulated by someone who wanted to rewrite the truth. And we don't stay silent anymore. Later that afternoon, something unexpected happened. The yacht steward came over and said, "Mrs. Bennett, there's a bit of an issue." I raised an eyebrow. What kind of issue? It's about the Instagram content. Lauren is using crew members in her posts, giving the impression that she owns the yacht. One of them asked if that's okay. I had to laugh. Not out of anger, but out of pure disbelief. She was trying to make it look like this was her yacht, her crew, her trip. I stood up, smoothed my dress, and said, "Gather the crew for a quick team meeting. Let's clear up the confusion." Within 10 minutes, everyone was on the lower deck. Lauren was off taking photos again, posing on the bow with wind-blown hair and a glass of sparkling water. I looked at the crew and said, "First of all, thank you all for your amazing work this week. I know things have been eventful, but I want to clarify something important. This yacht is owned and operated under my name. While I'm happy for guests to enjoy themselves, I do not approve of any misrepresentation regarding ownership. You all answer to me, not to anyone else. Understood? The captain nodded first. Crystal clear, Mrs. Bennet. And just like that, the room shifted. Lauren could pretend all she wanted on social media, but the people on the boat knew the truth. And you know what? That's what matters most. You can fake your life to strangers online, but you can't fake reality to the people living it with you. A few hours later, Lauren posted a story thanking the crew for their hospitality, not naming anyone. Just a vague, backhanded nod that still tried to place herself as the host. That's when I made my move. I posted a single image, me at the helm, the yacht's name visible in the background. Caption, grateful for another incredible year aboard my home away from home. Thank you to the best crew in the business. No hashtags, no emojis, no need to scream. It went viral within hours. People knew the story already. They'd seen the drama unfolding in pieces. My followers, my community, you all were watching it in real time. And when the truth dropped, it exploded. The comments were everything. She tried to take credit for your yacht? You handled this with so much class. I could never. Please, we need a movie about this trip. Now let me pause and talk to you again. This is why we tell our stories. Because someone out there needs to hear that they don't have to fight dirty to win. That grace can be louder than shouting. That truth, when timed right, is the sharpest sword in the room. And if you've made it this far, I know you get it. You've lived this in your own way. Maybe at work, maybe in your family, maybe in a relationship. But you know what it feels like to be pushed down, only to rise without ever lowering yourself. So drop your story in the comments. What's the one time someone tried to rewrite the truth about you? And how did you take your power back? Let's make this space more than a video. Let's make it a conversation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's your moment. Because this isn't just a one-time story. This is a whole series of real, raw, empowering moments that remind us who we are when the world forgets. The final day of the yacht trip is next. And trust me, it ends exactly how it should. See you in the next chapter. You ever watch someone try to claw their way back into relevance after being quietly dethroned? That was Lauren on the final full day of the yacht trip. After her fake Instagram posts didn't land the way she hoped, and after I made it clear who the real owner was, with one effortless photo, she went silent again. But not the kind of silence that comes from peace. No, this was the kind of silence that brews resentment, the kind that simmers underneath a forced smile. And I could feel it. The trip wasn't even over yet, but the final act of her drama was bubbling beneath the surface, just waiting to spill. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone smile in your face while secretly hoping you fail? They act sweet, they compliment you, they nod along, but you can just feel that energy, that heavy, desperate hope that something, anything, might go wrong for you so they can finally breathe. If you've ever felt that, just drop a yes in the comments, because I want to know I'm not the only one who sees through the quiet enemies in loud dresses. That morning started calm, too calm. The ocean was still, the breeze light, and everyone was gathered for a group breakfast. Fresh fruit, warm pastries, champagne, the usual luxury. And Lauren? She showed up early, already seated, already talking. She was smiling. She was polite, almost friendly. But the second I sat down, I could feel it. The tension in her shoulders, the grip on her glass, the way her smile didn't move past her mouth. She looked up and said, "Morning, Natalie. I was just telling everyone how beautiful this trip has been. Really unforgettable." I nodded. "It has been. Glad you're enjoying it." She sipped her champagne. "Well, it's not every day you get to be on a yacht like this. It's just so impressive." Now, I could have let that slide. But let's be honest, she wasn't complimenting me. She was setting the stage. So I leaned in a little and said, "It is impressive. It's what happens when hard work turns into legacy." And just like that, her smile cracked for a second. Not visibly, not obviously, but if you were watching closely, you saw it. And I know some of you watching have had to do the same. Sit across from someone who's been quietly hoping you'd fall, and instead, you shine. You speak softly, but your presence screams. You don't need to remind them of who you are. They already know. That's why they're uncomfortable. Later that afternoon, the captain asked if we wanted to stop near a private cove. It was a hidden spot, quiet, beautiful, surrounded by cliffs. I said yes. I wanted one last peaceful moment before the trip wrapped. We anchored just before golden hour, and the crew started setting up for a sunset dinner on the beach. It was a tradition I'd started the year I bought the yacht. One final, intimate celebration to close the trip. It wasn't mandatory, but everyone always came. It was exclusive, elegant, and meaningful. And this year, I decided to switch it up. Instead of letting Lauren guess whether she was included, I made the guest list public. Printed names on custom place cards displayed in a glass case on the deck. She walked by it and saw her name missing. That moment, that was the climax. She stared at the list, scanned it once, twice, then turned and walked over to me, that fake polite smile back on her face. Hey, I think there's a mistake. I didn't see my name on the dinner list. I looked her in the eye, calm, warm, unshaken. There's no mistake. She paused. So I'm not invited? No, Lauren, you're not. For a moment, she stood there frozen. The guests nearby went quiet. You could hear the waves. Then she laughed, a short, sharp laugh. Wow. So this is payback, huh? No, I said gently. This is boundaries. She stepped closer. You're doing this because I tried to control the trip. I nodded. Yes, you disinvited me from my own yacht, and I still let you come. I still let you stay. I didn't humiliate you. I didn't confront you. I let you enjoy the trip you didn't want me on. But tonight is for people who showed me respect before the champagne. That hit her. You could see it in her face. She wasn't used to being handled like this. She was used to people fighting back, yelling, arguing. She wasn't prepared for quiet power. She walked away, back stiff, face burning. And for the rest of the night, she stayed on board while the rest of us walked onto the beach, barefoot in the sand, candles lighting our path. The sunset was unreal, sky painted in orange and lavender, ocean glassy and calm. Everyone laughed, shared stories, toasted to the year. And in that moment, I felt it. Peace. Not because I got revenge, but because I chose me. I chose peace over performance, truth over tolerance. And to those of you still watching, I want to say something important. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not fight back. Just withhold access. Don't explain. Don't argue. Just decide who gets to sit at your table and then protect it with your life. If someone's ever made you feel like you had to shrink yourself just to be accepted, write never again in the comments. Because you deserve rooms that don't just tolerate you. They respect you. The night ended with a toast. My husband stood, glass in hand, and said, "To Natalie, for creating a space where everyone felt welcome until they gave her a reason not to." Laughter, applause, and a few quiet looks exchanged. Because truth doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be clear. Before we left the beach, I looked back at the yacht. Lights on, quiet. And I thought, Lauren's probably inside scrolling through comments, trying to rewrite the story one more time. But the thing is, once the truth is out, you can't edit it away. You can't filter what's real. And for those of you who've been with me through this story, thank you for listening, for sharing, for showing up. This isn't just about a yacht trip. It's about every moment you've ever been underestimated and chose not to shrink. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and meet me in the comments. Tell me your power story, your comeback moment, the time you said, "Not this time." Because this chapter, it might have been my story, but the next one, that's ours. You ever wake up the morning after a storm, not to thunder or chaos, but to silence so thick it tells you everything you need to know? That was the final morning on the yacht. No fake laughter echoing down the corridors. No clinking champagne glasses. No Lauren barking orders or planning another group selfie. Just quiet, calm, real. The storm had passed, but its aftermath, that was still lingering. I woke up early that day. The sun hadn't fully risen, and the sky was just beginning to shift from charcoal to gold. I stepped out onto the deck barefoot, warm mug in hand, and watched the water ripple like silk. You ever get that feeling when you're completely present? No anxiety, no second guessing, just standing in your own life, fully aware that you made it through something, without folding, without breaking, without becoming someone you're not? That was me. That was this moment. Now pause for a second, because I want to talk to you, the one watching, the one who's been silent in their own storm. If you've ever made it through drama, betrayal, fake smiles, or backhanded compliments, and still managed to keep your dignity intact, I need you to do one thing. Comment right now. I didn't shrink. I rose. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button, because this isn't just my story. It's ours. By the time the rest of the guests started waking up, the yacht was already moving slowly toward the mainland. It was the final sail. 4 days of tension, transformation, and truth finally winding down. Everyone was quieter, more reflective. Even the ones who hadn't directly been part of the drama could feel something had shifted. The atmosphere wasn't tense anymore. It was grounded, honest. And Lauren? She stayed in her room. Not one word. No goodbye dinner the night before. No explanation. Not even a passive-aggressive post. She was quiet. And that silence? It wasn't peace. It was surrender. After breakfast, the crew began prepping everyone's luggage. The energy was that familiar end-of-vacation buzz, people organizing bags, exchanging social handles, talking about how they didn't want to go back to real life. But me? I wasn't going back to anything, because this trip had changed something in me. I wasn't walking away with memories. I was walking away with a line drawn in the sand, clear and sharp. One of the guests, a close friend of Lauren's actually, pulled me aside and said something I'll never forget. She said, "I thought you were going to come for her. I thought this was going to get messy." I smiled and said, messy would have given her a reason to keep playing victim. Grace gave her a mirror instead. And isn't that always the truth? When you don't match their chaos, they're left standing alone in their mess. No one to blame, no one to bait. Just themselves, their choices, and the silence they created. I want to ask you something. Has someone ever painted you as the villain in their story just because you stopped letting them mistreat you? Because you stopped chasing, apologizing, or explaining? Drop a yes if you've ever been there. Because I know a lot of us, especially the strong, quiet ones, we get mistaken for cold when we finally choose to protect our peace. Around midday, Lauren finally emerged. Not glamorous, no makeup, no camera, just a hoodie, sunglasses, and quiet steps. She stood near the railing, looking out at the shore coming into view. She didn't speak to anyone, didn't offer fake kindness. She just stood there, small and still. And I didn't hate her. I didn't feel smug or victorious. I just felt done. She walked past me as we docked, and right as she passed, she paused. "I guess I didn't think it would end like this," she said softly. I looked at her, not with anger, not even disappointment, but with clarity. "It didn't have to," I replied. "But you wrote this ending the moment you tried to erase me from my own story." She nodded once. That was it. No defense. No more pretending. She stepped off the yacht, walked to her car, and drove away. And just like that, she was gone. Let me say something to everyone still watching. You don't always get closure in the form of an apology. Sometimes the closure is their silence, their retreat, their inability to keep faking it once you stop playing along. The crew thanked me one by one as we closed out the trip. The captain shook my hand and said, "I've worked a lot of charters, but this one, we'll remember it." And I hope Lauren does too, because sometimes the best lesson isn't taught with revenge or rage. It's taught when the person you tried to destroy simply refuses to fall. To those of you who've walked through fire and didn't let it burn your character, this story is for you. To the women who get underestimated, dismissed, talked over, and still rise with grace and power, this story is you, and I want to hear your voice. So here's what I want you to do. Tell me in the comments, what was your final morning moment? When did you choose peace over chaos? When did you finally walk away from the fake friend, the manipulator, the gaslighter, the one who thought you wouldn't shine without their approval? And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Join a community of people who aren't here to play petty games. We're here to stand tall, tell our truths, and move forward without noise. This was Chapter 8. And as we close this yacht trip, I want you to remember one thing. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to fight to prove your worth. You don't have to beg for a seat at a table you built. Sometimes you just stand up, step back, and let your silence say everything they refuse to hear. Because in the end, the real power was yours all along. And the people who tried to deny it, they just watched you sail away. Have you ever walked back into your old life after a moment that changed you and realized nothing looks the same? That's what returning home felt like after the yacht trip. It wasn't the city that changed. It wasn't my house, my job, or the rhythm of my days. It was me. Once you've tasted a level of peace, self-worth, and power you didn't know you were capable of, you can't go back to shrinking yourself for someone else's comfort. You can't go back to pretending. And I knew, deep in my chest, that I would never again allow Lauren or anyone like her to take up that kind of space in my life. The day after I got home, I sat on the edge of my bed scrolling through my phone. Notifications were blowing up. DMs, comments, reposts. The story of the yacht had gone viral. People weren't just entertained, they were seen. The messages weren't about luxury or revenge. They were about freedom. Women writing me things like, "You gave me courage to finally confront my sister." Or, "I've let someone like Lauren control me for years. Not anymore." And I swear to you, I sat there and cried. Because isn't that why we tell these stories? Not to gloat, not to flex, but to connect. To say, "Me too," in a way that echoes across screens and oceans and wounds. And before I go deeper into this chapter, I want to ask you something personal. If this story has reminded you of someone who tried to shut you out, someone who underestimated your value, comment, "They didn't break me." And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Because stories like this, they're not just about what happened, they're about who you become when it's over. 2 days after we docked, I got a text from Lauren. It simply said, "Can we talk?" No punctuation, no emojis, just 4 words that told me everything. I waited, not out of spite, but because sometimes silence is still your safest boundary. I needed to sit with it, not react, just feel. 24 hours passed. Then I replied, "If it's about the yacht trip, I think everything's already been said." She responded instantly, "It's not. I want to apologize. Properly." Now that's where it got complicated. Because let's be real, how often do people like Lauren actually own what they did? Not halfway, not with excuses, but fully. I was skeptical, but I agreed to meet her. Neutral place, coffee shop, daytime, no dramatics. I showed up, sat down, and waited. She arrived 10 minutes late. Sunglasses on, hair tied back. She looked smaller somehow, not physically, but emotionally. The performance had faded. She sat down and didn't speak for a moment. Then, finally, I was jealous. I blinked. Not because I didn't expect an apology, but because I didn't expect truth. She continued, "I was jealous of your calm, your presence, the fact that people listen to you without you raising your voice. I've always needed to control the room to feel important. And you don't. You just are. And I didn't know how to handle that. So I tried to erase it. And I'm sorry." Let me pause here, because I know someone watching this needed to hear that. Not for closure, but for confirmation that the way people treated you wasn't because you lacked something. It was because they saw something in you they couldn't find in themselves. She asked if I'd forgive her. And I told her the truth. I don't hate you, but I don't trust you. And forgiveness doesn't mean you get access again. It just means I'm not carrying your weight anymore. She nodded. That's the thing about real boundaries. They're not emotional. They're facts. And the people who genuinely want peace will respect them. The ones who don't, they'll reveal themselves eventually. After that conversation, I walked out of that cafe lighter. Not because I won some invisible battle, but because I didn't lose myself in someone else's chaos. And I want to ask you something. Have you ever accepted an apology? Not to reopen the door, but to finally close it without guilt? Tell me in the comments, because those are the hardest apologies to face. Not when they come too late, but when they come just in time to not matter anymore. That week, I shared a video on social, not naming Lauren, not retelling the drama, just a quiet message. Sometimes people will resent your peace because it reminds them of their war. Let them. Don't trade your calm to join their chaos. It was shared over 1,000,000 times. And I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that to say this. There's a whole world of people out there who are tired of being small, tired of being polite about disrespect, tired of over-explaining their boundaries to people who never had any. And if you're one of those people, you're not alone. You found your people here. This space, this channel, it's not just stories. It's real healing in real time. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with me. Because the next time someone underestimates your worth, I want you to remember this. You are not hard to love. You are just hard to manipulate. You are not too much. You're just too real for those still performing. And you are not cold. You've just finally stopped burning yourself to keep fake people warm. The yacht trip might be over, but the clarity, the boundaries, the self-respect, that's only just begun. Do you know what true power looks like? It's not loud, it's not flashy, it's not a dramatic entrance or a cruel clapback. It's the moment you walk into a space where you were once rejected, and everyone stands up a little straighter. Not because you demanded respect, but because your presence reminds them exactly who you are. That's what happened to me when the yacht's annual owners gala came around. Lauren thought her story ended on that dock when she left in silence. But what she didn't realize is that sometimes the real ending doesn't come until you walk back into the same circle. This time, holding all the cards. Let me set the scene. Every year, our yachting group hosts a private black tie gala. It's an exclusive event reserved only for owners, their families, and senior staff. Lauren had always loved attending, tagging along as a +1 to my husband, or in earlier years, getting in through mutual friends. But this year, she didn't get an invite. Not because of pettiness, but because, well, she was no longer relevant in the circles she once tried to control. And before I tell you how that night went, let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room where someone once made you feel invisible? Only now, the spotlight's on you? Have you ever felt the shift in the air when people finally see what they tried to overlook? If you felt that, drop "they finally saw me" in the comments. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, now is the moment. Because the ending of this story, it's the kind of full circle closure they say never comes, until it does. So I arrive at the gala in a floor-length satin gown, deep emerald green with my hair in soft waves. I wasn't overdressed. I wasn't loud. But you know when you feel centered, when you're not looking around for approval because you already own the moment? That's the energy I carried into the room. As soon as I walked in, I saw heads turn, not because I was the most glamorous person there, but because they knew. They knew what had happened on the yacht. They'd heard the whispers, seen the posts, watched the shifts, and in the way that wealthy circles always do, they followed the quiet power, not the loud noise. And that quiet power? It was me. I greeted the captain with a hug, the same man who stood beside me as I reclaimed my voice on that yacht. The crew was there too. Clean cut, formal but warm with me. That mutual respect, you can't fake that in a gown. And then I saw her, Lauren. She was there. Not officially invited, but she had come as someone's guest. Someone I barely knew from an adjacent yachting family. She must have begged for that +1. She stood across the ballroom, in silver, hair pinned back, drink in hand, and the second our eyes met, something shifted. Not in me, in her. She blinked once, slow, like it physically hurt to see me there, thriving, shining, without needing to acknowledge her at all. And here's the part I need you to understand. True revenge is never about proving them wrong. It's about proving you were always right to protect your peace. I smiled politely and walked past her. No eye roll, no smug smirk, just grace. She watched me all night. Every conversation, every interaction. I wasn't even trying to dominate the room. I just was the room. And that's what burned the most for her. Because deep down, she knew this wasn't about a yacht trip anymore. This was about identity, legacy, reputation. And hers was unraveling. Midway through the night, an older couple approached me. They'd been silent during the yacht fiasco. Neutral, observers. The man said, "You handled yourself with such class during the trip." Everyone saw it. And the woman added, "Lauren didn't just lose access to your yacht. She lost access to your influence. And now she's realizing that was the only thing keeping her relevant." Let me pause and say this to you. If someone ever treated you like you were replaceable, just know that the same people who cheered them on, they're watching now. And they remember how you carried yourself. As the night went on, I gave a short speech, something I'd been asked to do as one of the key members of the owner's circle. It wasn't about Lauren. I didn't mention her. I didn't need to. I simply said this: sometimes leadership isn't about volume, it's about vision. It's about staying grounded when others are trying to unseat you and choosing integrity when ego would be easier. This past year reminded me that grace is louder than gossip, and that the people who belong at your table don't make you earn your place. They build longer tables. The room applauded, and Lauren, she left early. No goodbye, no scene, just disappeared into the night. I don't know if she'll ever fully understand the damage she caused. I don't know if her apology was real or just strategic. But here's what I do know. I don't need that answer, because I stopped needing her validation the moment I remembered who I was without her shadow hovering over me. And for those of you who've stayed with me through this entire story, thank you. You didn't just watch a yacht trip unravel. You watched a woman reclaim her voice, her worth, and her power. And if you're watching this thinking, I want my moment too, let this be your sign. Start today. You don't need to scream. You don't need revenge. You just need to walk in your truth and trust that those who tried to silence you will one day watch you from the sidelines, quietly wondering how you did it. Tell me in the comments, what's your chapter 10? Your moment of return, your quiet victory. I want to hear it. I want this to be a space where stories don't just live, they ignite. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time, because this isn't the end of my stories. It's just the beginning. The real glow up, it's when they can no longer deny who you've become, because you don't even need to explain it anymore. You know, when I first boarded that yacht, I had no idea it would turn into a storm of betrayal, ego, and unspoken competition. I just wanted peace. A few days on the water, a break from the noise. But what I got was something deeper, something life-changing. What began as a trip filled with tension and manipulation ended as a quiet, powerful transformation. Not just in how others saw me, but in how I saw myself. Because sometimes life puts you in the middle of a storm not to break you, but to show you just how steady you can be when everything else is falling apart. Let's be real. Lauren didn't just try to ban me from a yacht. She tried to erase my place in the family. She tried to rewrite the narrative, twist the truth, and shrink me down to something she could manage. And for a while, I stayed silent. I let her talk. I let her perform. I let her build her version of the story. But silence isn't weakness. It's patience. And when the moment came, I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to raise my voice. All I had to do was stand in the truth, and you saw what happened. One by one, the illusions fell apart. The mask cracked. The attention faded. Because at the end of the day, people always return to real grace, real integrity, real power that doesn't need to prove itself. So to every single one of you who watched this story from the beginning, who felt the sting of being excluded, who knew what it was like to be underestimated by someone in your own circle, I hope you walk away with this. You do not need permission to take up space. You do not need approval to be powerful. And you definitely do not need to stay silent when your value is being questioned. Let them talk. Let them plot. Let them underestimate you. And then, when the time is right, rise without a sound. Let your peace speak. Let your presence remind them. I know a lot of you have been through your own versions of this story, at work, in your family, in your friend group, and maybe no one clapped for you. Maybe no one saw what you had to carry. But I see you. And the comments you've been leaving, they're not just responses. They're testimonies. So, if this journey meant something to you, if it stirred something inside you, drop one last comment and say, I reclaimed my seat. Because this wasn't just a story about yachts and family drama. This was about all of us who've ever been made to feel small, choosing to stand tall anyway. And if you haven't subscribed, now is the moment. Because the next story, it might be yours. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, the next time someone tries to shut a door in your face, make sure it's on a yacht you own. The end.